Hello everyone, Farmer Luke here for another week, which this week is peas, which you would have received in your kits. I'm going to take you through everything you need to get set up, and then we'll go through the soaking and the seeding, and hopefully we'll have a great week. So for seeding this week, we'll need obviously the peas, which will come in this brown paper bag. We'll need one of the half slotted trays. You would have received a couple of these and a couple of the full size ones. We're just going to do the half ones this week, and also grab yourself one of the drip trays. So moving forward, I'll be calling these drip trays and these slotted trays. You do also have the option of these larger slotted trays, the full size. We won't be using that this week though, so you can leave them off to the side. So just for this week, a full size drip tray, a half slotted tray. You'll need a full sheet of hemp, so grab one of them. Get yourself some scissors. Some household scissors will be fine. If you have any sort of heavy duty ones, that will help because the hemp can get a little bit tough when cutting. And you'll obviously need a little spray bottle as well to help once we start germinating. And grab yourself a big bowl. I've already soaked these peas earlier, but get yourself a nice kitchen bowl to soak the peas in, and we'll get started. Before we jump into the soaking video, I did mention that we use about a cup of peas for soaking, but because we've decided to just go with half trays for this week, you'll only need half a cup of peas. So make sure you just measure out about half a cup, don't go dumping the whole bag into the bowl, and we should be fine. Now the only thing you need to do with peas before we sow them as a microgreen is soak them. And the reason for that, and you'll see this yourself, is the pea is quite hard. It has a really tough shell, and that's needed in nature so the pea can survive sort of dropping to the ground and survive in the soil until it's ready to germinate next season. But in that case, the pea has time to sort of soak that hard shell away when it's in the moisture of the soil. But with microgreens, we're not using soil, and the peas generally will sit on a growing medium like hemp or paper towel, things like that. There's just not enough time to soak the pea like that for it to germinate. So what we need to do is give it a bit of a helping hand. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and it's pretty simple. You just need a jug or a cup with your peas, a large bowl, and a jug of water. So before you think, no, you haven't stumbled onto the wrong channel, this isn't Farmer Home's cooking experiment. These are just items you'll find in your kitchen, and we choose these because they're going to be readily available to you. You don't need any fancy high-tech equipment to do this process, so you need to start with the peas. So you'll get about a cup of peas with your first delivery. We're just going to put them into the bowl like this. You just want to make sure there's no, sometimes you get like a little brown one in there or something like that. Just pick them out, or there might be some other foreign material, little bits of leaf or plant matter. Just generally they'll be okay, but just pick them out, and you'll basically have a nice little bowl here of peas. Pretty simple really, it's about the easiest cooking instruction you can follow. After that, we just need to grab the water, and we need to pour the water over the peas. Now, the point of this is to soak them and also allow the peas more water to continue soaking up that water. So we don't want to just cover them, we want to cover them at least sort of 2 to 3 inches above the level of the peas, and you'll see what I mean once we pour the water in. We need roughly sort of 1.5 to 2 litres of water to do this. You'll notice as well that some peas are floating on the top of the water. That's normal, they will eventually sink, but I like to give them a little helping hand, and I just sort of pop them down with my fingers. And you'll see here that all the peas now are sort of settled on the bottom of the bowl, and there's about an inch or so of water above that. You'll find that by the end of this, most of the water will be gone, or the peas will have risen pretty much to the top of that water line, or the water line will drop down to the peas, whichever way you want to look at it. And that's when you know that they're soaked through well. Now in order for this to be effective, you really want the peas to be soaking for at least 12 hours. So overnight is generally enough. You can soak them up to 24 hours. Past that though, it can get a little troublesome. The water can start to go a little bit funky, and sometimes the peas can actually start to germinate themselves, which is not what we want. So generally as a guide, we recommend soaking overnight. That way they're going to get the time they need without going too far along in that soaking process. So now that our peas have been soaking, we can start prepping the hemp for the rest of the seeding process. And as I alluded to earlier, we'll need one full piece of hemp here, but through the magic of television, I've already cut mine up into the sort of pieces that you'll need, and I'll explain to you how I got to this point. So basically what we're looking at here is I've cut these 2 pieces to fit the half tray perfectly. This third piece will actually be used later on because 2 of these cut pieces will actually become a full-sized piece of hemp for a full-sized drip tray. So we do it this way so we're not wasting any hemp. And the way to get these 3 separate components is quite simple, and I'll show you how to do that. So to prepare your hemp for cutting, grab a full-size sheet and fold it into thirds. So just roll it over like this, and you can adjust as needed. And you want to get it so each little panel there is about the same size. And if you don't go quite enough, that's fine, just do it a little bit more. And the point here is, because we want to cut this into basically a 2/3 section, leaving 1/3 as a bit cut off. So you'll see there, it's in pretty much 3 even sections, and then I'll show you how we cut it. So when you are folding it, try and crease the edges a little bit, and that will give you a nice little line here through the hemp so you can work out where to cut. Now on this piece, I want 2/3 and 1/3. So I'll find that line there, and I'll just grab the scissors and start cutting along. And I won't go all the way through because I'll show you the ones I've already cut, but basically start cutting along, and you'll find then that you will have a piece of hemp that is 2/3 and one piece is 1/3. This piece is a perfect full-size piece for a full tray, and then we will cut it down the middle for the half trays. So to help you visualize what I've done, these are the pre-cut pieces overlaid a full-size sheet of hemp. So this is the 1/3 cut that I've made, and we'll take that off and just pop it off to the side. We'll be using that in future videos. And this one here, this is effectively 2/3 of that sheet of hemp, and I've just cut it down the middle. So the easiest way to do that is just roll the hemp on itself and just cut down there. And I've done this because it is pretty much the perfect size for these half slotted trays. We'll sort of soak it and stretch it out a bit to make it fit a little bit better. But if you've got this far, well done. And when you're ready, we'll move on to soaking the hemp and putting it in the trays. So now that we've got the hemp cut to size, the next step is to soak it and then stretch it out. Now soaking is the same method as I've taught you in previous videos. Just run it under the warm water tap or place it in a bowl of warm water for about 5 minutes or so, and then wring it out so it's still moist but it's not dripping wet. You'll find here that sometimes the hemp varies a little bit, so those sheets that you get aren't exactly all the same size, and that's normal because it is a byproduct of that hemp industry. So we'll find here one's actually a little bit longer than the other, and this one's a little bit shorter. So what I want to do is just again show you that stretching method. It's a little bit different with these narrower pieces, but for me, I just want it to get to the edges here so there's no gaps. Now with the peas, this is less of a problem because the peas are quite large. So you just want to have it touching the edges. You don't really have to worry about any small seeds falling through some tiny gaps because the peas won't do that, they're quite large. So you'll see here, I'm pretty happy with both of them. And I've got 2 bits of hemp stretched out and ready to go. Now in this video, I'll only be showing you how to seed 1 tray's worth of peas. I've just done this because I had the hemp ready. So maybe for yourselves, if you just want to soak the 1 piece, so just grab one of the drier pieces and soak 1. And then see how you go with that. And if you sort of have good results, maybe you can soak the other piece in a week's time or a few days' time. But just for now, let's focus on 1 tray, 1 piece of hemp, and half a cup of peas, and we'll go from there. So with your tray and hemp ready, we're going to start with seeding the peas. You'll need about half a cup's worth for these half trays, and I'll show you just the difference in size after soaking. So on your right here, we have an unsoaked pea, and on the left is one of these peas from this very batch, and the pea at least doubles in size from that soaking overnight. So that's why when you are soaking them, it might not seem like a lot, but the peas do expand quite a bit. So it's a similar process for seeding peas as it is the other microgreens. You basically just sprinkle them over the hemp. These ones you can do by hand if you wish, because they are a lot bigger, so it's easier to handle. But just going to pop them all in there. Now this is half a cup of peas, so make sure you get the right measurements, because the key thing with peas is you don't want to overcrowd them. So you can see here, this just fills it out quite nicely. And then what you can do is just use your hands just to break up any of those really large clumps. The nature of the peas is they will be touching each other because they are so much bigger. You just want to avoid, something like this where you've got like a tray like that where they're all clumped in one corner and there's all this space over here. So you can give it a shake if you like. That's sort of a method I enjoy doing. And then just use your fingers just to kind of spread it out that little bit more. And so with the peas, the way that they germinate, they will actually start to push each other out of the way. So even if they are touching a little bit, they'll kind of just bump each other off and it'll be okay. Again, like with the other microgreens, you just want to avoid having layers of them stacked on top of each other, all bunched in a corner, because they're not going to germinate very effectively. You need a bit of airflow and a bit of room for the roots to grow and expand, and for the seed to start to put down its root fibers. So just spread them out a little bit. Again, you don't want to over sort of handle the peas as well, so it's a good idea just to wash your hands with warm water and soap before you start this, because you don't want to introduce any pathogens or any potential nasties into the mix. Just a little play here and move them around, and pretty much that's it. So it's a pretty simple process. Once you're happy with sort of the spread of the peas, we can move on to the next step. So now that you've placed all the seeds, the next step is to grab your full-size drip tray and just place the half-slotted tray in there. We've designed this so it fits perfectly, so all the hard work's done. And this is just to catch any water, because it will start to sort of drip through the hemp as the seeds are germinating over the next few days. And with the seeds, we want to spray them a little bit more heavily than the other microgreen seeds, because they are a larger seed and they do soak up a lot more moisture. So grab your spray bottle and give it a really, really good soaking. So the other one you went over, a couple of times. This one you want to give it a spray until you can see all the peas glistening. It's kind of the way I describe it. You want them all to be quite moist, and also you want to start soaking the hemp through a little bit. So give it a good spray. Again, you don't want to over soak it. You don't want there to be a pool of water in the bottom of the tray at the end of this, but you want to give it a good spray so everything's really well coated and soaked through. And with the peas, this is something you will need to be mindful of as they grow. They will probably need daily, or at least every second day, a little spray top up, because they can dry out quite quickly. With the cooler weather now coming into winter, it is a bit easier. In summertime, this was a big issue for us and we had to check on them daily. So at home, you're gonna be excited anyway, so check on them every day, why not? And once they're sprayed though, that's pretty much it. So we just leave them there and we just pop a lid on. Now I'm using the second drip tray that you would have all received in your kit. You may be already using this to cover the microgreens you seeded last week. You can find something else, but just for me, I'm just going to use the second drip tray and just pop it on, just like that. Pretty simple. We now have the perfect environment for the peas to germinate. They've got moisture, they've got darkness, and they've got sort of enough air around there to grow. Again, because you'll be checking it daily to give them little spritz, lifting the lid off will also provide a little bit of airflow as well. But that's pretty much it. Alrighty, you can see the party hat's on, so we know what time it is. It's the end of the lesson. So hopefully you've got a nice little half tray of seeded peas here ready to go. Please post some photos and videos. We'd love to see how you've done and anything you've learned you want to share with the group. Until then, this is Farmer Luke saying happy growing, and we'll see you on the farm next week.